Back again on another bit of truth. Now we go talk about the workplace right here with all the supposed work going away with the masses, and layoff for the most part are, in the pandemic they basically tell you to work from home. So we go talk about what gonna happen with the future of working, especially in these office buildings. Because like middle class of people work, I'm talking about middle class people they call them, they're gonna lose their job 100% in. And for the peoples who in a job right now, when you go into work at a workplace, yes, it gonna becomes this right here. You understand? If it's a office supposedly kind of work, it gonna be gone. All of them things they can do now with AI. You have to remember that the world's coming to an end and they're actually gonna let the people suffer 100% in. And I'm gonna show you this big agenda going on with all these empty office buildings. We go get into it and break it down. Let it run.
America's big cities are facing major problems. From sky-high interest rates to the reluctance of employees to return to their office. The impact of high...
They mention reluctant as the supposed employee go back to work. You have to understand, people, it's bullshit. You have to wake up. They're the one who start this big thing in the pandemic, sending people home from their job, and later on they lay you off. That's what they really wanted to do. I mentioned, or I did a podcast on the Silicon Valley where they run that silicon and the masses basically send them home, tell them, listen, it's COVID, stay home. And then later on they actually lay them off 100%. Pay attention. It's the same thing.
Rates and the banking stress is hurting smaller businesses across the country, many of which can be summed up by a controversial new phrase, the urban doom loop.
There you go.
The environment is certainly shifting on Main Street, and it's weighing on optimism.
Losses at the bank level, right? There's going to be losses at the investors level, and I think for the cities, right, they're going to have this potential, this urban doom loop.
Take a look, people.
Columbia Business School professor Stan Van Nieuwerburg coined the term. Here's how it all works.
Early in the pandemic, a lot of office sector workers started working from home.
And if you people pay attention, all of these videos that I've been doing, I'm trying to highlight it to you. They're gonna mention the pandemic caused these things to happen. You see what I'm saying? I told you from day one what the pandemic is, people. Is a system they set up, and it basically gonna lead you to destruction 100%. You see everything coming in now? Yes, the pandemic opened the gate for this destruction, and they know it 100%. That's why they brought you it. Pay attention here. The pandemic bring all of these things right here. Gonna get you out of your job and everything else.
Here we are 3 years later, many of them are still working from home at least some of the time. All of that has led to a large reduction in the demand for office. We see a lot of companies downsizing. We see a lot of companies not renewing their leases at all. And
why the people can't understand that was all by design, people. For all the people who sit there and wonder, why would they trick the masses with a pandemic? You ask me the question all the time. There your answer go right here. You understand what they're doing since they bring the pandemic? Don't ask. The reason why they put that whole show together on TV is for the masses to get into the beast system 100% in. So when you have no job, no workplace, remember what gonna happen, people. The government gonna control you. I remember I told you about them feeding you and everything right out of their palm. The world is done. When they take your jobs and everything that you depend on in this devil system, pay attention.
And with this demand decline for office comes declines in the revenues for the owners of those offices, and value declines in these offices. Declines in property values reduce property tax revenues for the city. The cities have to balance their budget.
And what causes all of this shit right here, people? I told you already, it's just a switch. The government control it. That's what it is. They tell the masses all these complications that happen, and this gonna happen right there. Everything fall. All government agenda. Order out of chaos. Again.
Cut spending. That means less money for public safety, for sanitation, for transportation, for education. Makes the city a less attractive place to live.
There you
people
go.
Migrate out. Property values fall more. Less money. More people moving out. And the city gets into an urban doom loop where its fiscal health spirals down.
At the height of the COVID-19 pandemic,
watch
remote
this.
work policies prompted many employees to leave their city and move to new states.
So you see that right there, people? That's the first thing they did, have people misplaced. Right there, you have to leave where you're at because of some situation going on there in the pandemic, and now you end up in a worse situation. No lie. Pay attention right
These
here.
population outflows have long-term implications for
billion
cities,
holding.
which rely on tax revenues for funding.
Property tax revenue in New York City is about half of all tax revenue. Commercial property tax revenue is about 10% of all tax revenue. So if
That's
the
what you
value
get
of that
in big
falls by
cities.
40%, we're talking about a 4% hole in the budget. So if New York City's budget is $100 billion per year, that's a $4 billion shortfall that has to be made up somewhere else. Rich people pay a disproportionate share of income taxes. You know, in New York, for example, a few thousand taxpayers are paying half of all taxes.
And you have to understand, people, rich people don't really pay tax. There's people that they call rich, and in society, their tax is way lower than yours as your so-called poor people. You have to understand government trickery, the system set up to put the strain on the people below, the basic poor people. Pay attention.
Migration has become easier because you can leave the city without leaving your job. So if a few rich people or families leave, that could leave a large hole in the budget. The technology sector has been more permissive to remote work, and so those cities tend to be affected the most.
The remote work is a hoax, people. It is. Like I said, if you can do some work from home, the AI can do it. Keep that in mind, people. That's why they did it. They let you go home knowing that you're not coming back to no office. There will be no more offices. You understand? The business gonna be running from home, meaning that they have you working from home, and later on, it will be the technology running the whole thing. If you can do it, that means it can run by technology. If you can do it remotely, that means they don't need a body there. They don't need a human being to do it. So that's what gonna happen. The human being gonna lose out on all these jobs, even on the fast food places, everywhere you go. All of them shit's gonna run by AI 100%. No humans in sight. And already they're taking out most of you now in the depopulation time. So of course they need AI to run everything right
Think
now.
of places like San Francisco, Seattle,
Yes, big
the
cities.
West Coast cities sort of more generally.
The urban doom loop isn't just a theory. It's playing out in the real world, with landlords finding themselves financially underwater
There you
and
go.
regional banks facing
Only the middle class people, I already told you. Once they kill that right there, I put this train right there, the pressure is on everybody below. You have to understand. Pay attention
a
here.
credit crunch.
The credit crunch.
So when I'm a landlord and I want to buy a building, typically I'm going to buy it with a combination of my own money, my equity, and a piece of debt. Because
A piece of debt, that's got to involve right there, the debt. You understand? And he say a piece of debt. That means it's not all. You're not gonna, borrow all the money supposedly, but watch what's gonna happen when you do it this way. Pay attention.
real estate is such good collateral, banks are generally willing to lend a lot of money.
Yes, the reason why they're willing to lend a lot of money is because they know they own that building. After you put in a lot of money in it, they're gonna be the one who own it at the end of the day, because you can't pay for it. You have to understand that. Listen.
Typically, there will be 60, 65, sometimes even 75% debt and 25% equity. Right? So that would be a typical financing structure for a commercial real estate building. And then typically the debt will be fixed rate. The only difference is I'm not paying off any principal.
Okay, so it's fixed, but you're not paying off any principal. But pay attention. This is a setup, and I already told you how crooked the banks is, run by the world government. Look.
10 years later, when my loan comes due, I need to refinance
You
that
see
loan.
that? There you
And
go.
normally,
You have to refinance. You understand what that means? Meaning that they can up the price on you right there with the refinance, and now you're in a new situation again. Do you understand that? Refinance meaning that you owe now again. It's the process start all over again. Do you understand that? That means you're stuck in debt. Wow, unbelievable.
refinance that loan. Now, normally that's not a problem because normally the value of my office will have gone up these past 10 years. But what if it hasn't? What if the value of my office has in fact gone down? So now the bank will look at that office all over again and reassess it. And
see?
to the extent it's even willing to give me a new loan, it's going to only want to give me a smaller loan. So now as a landlord, I'm going to have to make a tough choice. Either I come out of pocket, put more money into the deal, because the loan that I'm getting now is smaller than the one I need to repay from 10 years ago. So I put in more equity in the deal, or I walk away. And I have the right to do that. I can send the keys to the lender and just walk. A lot of the debt is non-recourse, which means the bank has no recourse to my other assets. I can just simply take this one office building that I've borrowed against and just send the keys to the bank. And the bank now owns the building.
So there you go. At the end of the day, who owns the building? The bank. And that's not the worst case scenario. But yes, people, these things can happen easily. And then the people who was working at that office building no longer have a job, period. All by design.
So banks are facing this deterioration in basically the credit quality of these commercial mortgages that they have on their books. So these smaller regional banks that have done a lot of local commercial real estate lending, they're now tightening the screws on the credit for the local non-real estate firms as well. That is sort of a
Lower
traditional
class
credit
people.
crunch. Commercial real estate is a very large asset class. There's about $5 trillion of commercial real estate out there. And whether you know it or not, your pension fund might very well have an exposure to commercial real estate directly or indirectly.
Of course,
There's also
because that's what they do. All the money that you're supposed to be saving for when you retire, put in. Yes, it going into supposed to be investment. Even your 401k, that's what they do, people. So those money not really guaranteed. Listen.
part of the equity markets called the REIT market, which is the publicly listed real estate space. And again, a lot of folks have exposure to that through a mutual fund, through an exchange-traded fund. And those REITs, especially the office REITs, have fallen on hard times in the last several years. Their stocks are often down 50, 60, 70% sometimes.
Occupancy of office getting to 30% below pre-pandemic levels. The office sector certainly is going to experience more pain than any other sector in the next 2 to 4 years.
With only a small percent of desks occupied around the world 5 days a week and trillions of dollars of commercial and office debt about to come due in the next couple of years, really makes you wonder.
Remember they did supposedly, put out that 4-day work, I guess 4 work day in a week. They did bring that up. So they're really trying hard to stop the masses from going to these jobs right here. The one that provide for you. You understand? And we already know this is just a system. We know that already. But for all the people who depend on these jobs for their livelihood, do you get what I'm saying? Yes, they're going to actually lose those jobs, people. 100%. And you can't think of no supposed to be industry or none of those, companies that actually going to need human beings at the end of the day. These things that they have set up right now with AI, the human beings don't need it. They don't need them to work. You have to understand, and not like people supposed to be happy about work, but that's what your livelihood is. You understand what I'm saying, people? If that's how you live in this system and they take it away, how you gonna live? Wow, I told you, destruction right here for the masses.
How it's all going to shake out.
So are we really doomed? Or is there a way for cities to pull themselves out of the loop?
The fundamental problem is that we have too much office. The only solution in the long run is to get rid of some of the excess office we have and repurpose some of that space. The solution you
Get rid of the office. Listen, people, those buildings is temporary. All of them is. All those office buildings, all those buildings that you see, apartment buildings, all them shits, temporary. They never make them to stay there forever. Again, look.
about the most is apartments. Turns out that that's easier said than done because a lot of our large offices are very big buildings. By my own calculations, only about 10% of office buildings are physically suitable for conversion to apartments. But that's
Yes, so what you have to understand, people, you're going to be empty office building and also empty apartment buildings. They're building them up. I don't know why they're doing it, because it's looking stupid now when they're building up all these big buildings and nobody in them. They're making these government apartments where they claim they're going to house people. We don't know what they got planned for it yet, but we figure that out as we go along. But we go talk about some more as far as these people going to lose their job. But make it going. Run it.
So on the morning of
January 20th, I actually woke up to one of my friend's text messages that said, "Hey, were you just laid off by Google?" I responded saying, "I don't know what you're talking about." So I went to my work laptop, and lo and behold...
He mentioned Google. Hold on. He mentioned Google. Laid off by Google. Remember, that's another tech company. I breaks it down too many times to let the masses understand. Tech company, meaning you don't need nobody there. You don't need no human beings. That's why I mentioned the Silicon Valley. Yes, it's a tech supposedly companies right there. All of them, tech companies. They don't need no human beings. It's all artificial intelligence. They used to run every damn thing. Yes, algorithm. Pay attention.
When I opened it, I was forbidden. I was locked out. I was just shocked, just chilled to the bone to read this email that was sent to my personal email to say, "You are no longer an employee." I had been at Google for 4.5 years. My performance was great. This was something...
Hold on. You don't know about if the performance is great because you don't really know what you're doing there. Yes, they show you something that they need you to do, but you don't really know what supposed to be, what it is. So of course you don't know if your work good or bad because you've been tricked. So pay attention here, people. They tell you, listen, stay out the office because COVID. Yes, when they tell you the pandemic done, yes, they fire you. You understand that? When the pandemic ends, supposedly, you get that message showing you they don't want you back there. They don't have to tell you in person because you didn't have to go in to work. Okay, so damn, they send you a message and tell you you're no longer working there. You understand that? That's how they do it now. It's easier to fire people anyway in a damn message. Again.
Kind of blew me out of the water. So these new virtual layoffs, I think, are very inhumane. They're very impersonal, and they don't treat you as an actual human being.
No, you're not. You're just a number. That's all you is to them. They fire you, they hire somebody else. But in these cases, they're not hiring nobody else. They're gone technologized all the way where they don't need human beings. That's why they're showing you the AI. Remember, it's been out forever. AI been around running the damn shit forever. They're just now telling you about it. So pay attention.
Virtual layoffs are when companies decide to lay off, let go, and terminate roles of team members by email, by phone, by text, or even by video apps like Zoom or pre-recorded videos.
We are seeing a rise in virtual layoffs. First is because of the pandemic. Pandemic normalized the adoption of remote work and virtual...
Yes, it normalized all this destruction that's coming for the masses. That's what it did. Open the gate right now. That's what's happening. So these things can be looking normal. And then bam.
Communications, the organization realized that it's possible to conduct business virtually, including communicating difficult messages to employees, such as layoff announcements. Also, they learned that probably virtual layoff can be more cost and time effective for big organizations. They don't need to hire external contractor and send them to all different offices across the nation. Just imagine how much travel expenses they are saving.
You see that you worry about travel expensive, like I tell you people, they're done with the peoples, period. 100% in. And I mentioned the people's already falling like flies. They have more sickness on the table and everything, more destruction for the masses. So guess what? There's not too much people around anyway. And I just seen a Walmart supposedly put out a video saying that they're basically gonna have different time zone or time period for the older folks to shop. So they're separating them right there. And don't be thinking that's just a regular thing they're doing. It's some big agenda they have in place. The lockdown and all them things can come back in place because they give you the pandemic. Do you understand that? It's easy for you to accept these things now. Yes, so accept this right here. The working thing is done for the most part. These middle class jobs, offices and all of these things is done 100%. And when those people take the hit, they're gonna fall down right there where the poor class people at. And that's where they are gonna bungle up. So there ain't gonna be no supposedly middle class people. Once they take away the middle class job, that's it. They're classing the people as those supposedly, who make more money, and all the people gonna make the same money. You understand? Which is nothing. 100% in. The government gonna control everything. Money, every movement's of money, everything. That's what they want for the new world. And the new generation gonna just fall right in. Some of them that don't really know nothing different when you look at it, because they're born into technology and they're growing into this technology and they're accepting it as they come along with it. So later on, they don't even gonna notice that this change happened. But yes, the government people taking over the people, the more they go, the more we progress in life, supposedly. Yes, the more they capture and hold you hostage right here under this Babylon system. Yes, another mag bam. Appreciate everybody for taking it in. I'm on the run.